Welcome back to the Flow of Abundance podcast. Today we're sitting down with Michelle Moskowitz, who is currently the Chief Growth Officer at Sublime Communications. But she's way more than that. From the busy world of media at Lifetime Group to luxury e-commerce to being a reporter at the Greenwich Sentinel, Michelle is somebody who I would say has mastered the art of the pivot. She's a mother, a leader, a writer, and somebody who's pursued purpose. So today we're welcoming Michelle to Flow of Abundance podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course.
So good to see you.
Yes. You're somebody that's had an extensive journey. What inspired you to take those leaps? And what's the thread that ties everything together?
Well, it's a tough question. I think for the most part, you never really know how your journey is going to go in life. In high school, I thought, okay, I want to be a writer. That's really my passion. That's what I love words. I always love books. I'd say I'm a writer at heart, and that was always my calling. But you never really know how that passion is going to take you. So you kind of stick with the one thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. And today with technology, we see that really can go in so many places. So I think really it's about keeping an open mind with opportunities that present themselves to you. I really thought I wanted to be a reporter. That was all I wanted to do, is be a broadcast reporter on TV. Went to school specifically for that. And then I was told that I had to start in the weather. I was like, well, that's really not what I want to do. I want to report on the news. I want to get to know people. I want to know their story, kind of what you're doing today. Through that, I had luckily met somebody on the train, waiting for a train, who was the head of engineering at Lifetime Television for Women, and started chatting with him. And I thought, okay, this sounds really cool. He's like, you know what? You just graduated, come in for an interview, and the rest was history. I think it's really being able to tap into things that really light you up inside. Now, today, that thread of writing and journalism and storytelling is very much what we do at Sublime, but it's also taking everything else around you in life, your personal and your professional experiences, and morphing that into change. And that's the way life goes. And being a mother and seeing kids who don't like change, if you can't embrace the change, you're not gonna have as much fun.
I'm curious, how much you think luck played a role in all that. I mean, you met somebody at the train
Yeah.
station. I mean, I feel like that's one thing, but I know that a lot of times people discuss different types of luck, and I'm curious, what your take is on that. Do you think you just got lucky, or do you think it was a culmination of putting yourself in a situation where you happen to be what people consider lucky?
I don't really believe in luck. I know people say that, and people say, oh, I got, it's a little bit of luck. But the truth is that I had 15 interviews before that day. Nobody talks about the grit that they get to before the lucky opportunity. Going in with my makeshift briefcase every day, taking the train into the city, living at home to save money, just to meet with all types of different companies and talk to all sorts of people. And the truth is that even though they were interviewing me, I was also interviewing them. And now as a storyteller, which is we throughout my whole career, I was really looking at, does this person seem really into what he or she does? Do they seem passionate about their mission? The luck, I think, is when you can look at an opportunity and turn it on a little different of a perspective and say, now let's see how we can make something really special with this opportunity. I do believe in energy, though. I do think energy is something. To me, energy is luck. Energy is you put good energy out into the world and it comes back to you. And even when you have people around you who might have negative energy, that's for them. Sometimes I find that to be contagious, right? Just having a good positive outlook it helps everybody.
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Right.
Absolutely.
He's like energy king over here.
Yeah. It's energy flows. I mean, it's kind of cliche, but it's also physics, right?
100%.
So I guess focusing more on your career, because you had many roles, we were interested in knowing what allowed you or what made you feel like you were ready to pivot as you're navigating these roles. And I feel like that question is especially important today, where it's become kind of like a gig economy where people have to have many roles.
Yeah.
How did you navigate that at that time?
AOL, America Online, and Prodigy, which I don't think you were born, so you would even know about that.
I had an AOL.
Okay, so you had an AOL
I know
account.
AOL.
Oh, yeah.
So my second week, Lifetime, my boss used to be Brian Donlin, great guy if you hear this. He used to run USA Today. He was the director of public affairs at Lifetime. He said, I want you to fly to Dulles, Virginia. I want you to meet with this small company called AOL. And don't come back unless you have some kind of a deal. I was like, I don't know anything about deal making and right. And I don't really know what AOL is. He's like, just that's it. Just get a suit and go do it. And I did. But what it was a new technology. It was the first of the internet where I said, Lifetime, which is television for women, also at the time was showing films that didn't really portray women in a way that showed them empowered, right? It didn't show them as CEO or in the boardroom or women. It showed women more of a light that nobody wants to hear about anymore. So what if we use this platform to create content for women that can entertain, but also inform and inspire and educate? I made it happen. And that was really, the first of that. And went on to build a whole department, which consisted of designers and content writers. And it was fantastic. And really looking at how technology was really supporting broadcast. And now it's like, forget TV. Everyone's on their broadcast, they're really on their computer now. So was really at an early stage where we could take the best of what broadcast had to offer, but bring it to more people, more communities, and go deeper. So you asked about how did I leap? I think at every point in life, you get to a natural place where you feel you've reached your plateau.
Mhm.
I built the whole division. It was great. We were extremely successful. And the truth is I started to get recruited. And I thought, all right, let me see what's next, because I felt like I could challenge myself in a different way.
Right.
Then I went to Young and Rubicam, which is a large advertising agency. As wonderful as that was, and again, that was many years ago, I like today that you can wear multiple hats. I think that's what keeps people flexible and curious. It's really all about, if you only do one thing, how far can you go with that? So then I went on to do other entrepreneurial things after that. But I feel like intuition is a big part of that. And when you got to be excited. When you're not excited, that's when you know that there's a change. And sometimes it just doesn't feel good. It's not just about, I want to feel better. It's, I want to get up every day and be super excited for the work that I do that's purposeful. And if it's not, I got to look somewhere else.
Many women, and this is, I think, just in general, and even around the world, uh, they feel like they have to choose between ambition and family. And so I'm curious what you would say to other women out there. Like, what advice could you give? Obviously, you're a very successful woman and you have a wonderful family. So how have you been able to keep that balance? And when that decision came in your life?
First of all, I love that question. It's so brave. And it's also, I love that you're a man asking that question, because it's typically the type of thing you hear from another woman. One of the reasons I became a newspaper reporter was to get at that very question. So living in Greenwich, Connecticut, it's a beautiful community, a lot of well-educated women, successful, can't figure that out. And I think today it's a lot easier. Honestly, COVID even really helped us tremendously with that, because it was a more of the traditional roles where if you want to be a mother, you kind of have to stay home. And the truth is that it's great to stay home with your kids. It's wonderful. It's such a gift. You have kids to open your heart to them. And I did stay home for a number of years. And my husband at the time had traveled a lot. So I made that choice. And I actually found either consulting projects to do from home. I actually started an organizing business because I was like really into,
Yeah.
the organizing. And having two daughters of my own, it is so important, because I don't want to say throw all your eggs in one basket, but the truth is it's all interconnected. Your personal life and your professional life is a balance. So if you're only working, you meet women who are only working and they never get to find love or have a family. And then they get older and they say, I kind of wish I could do that. So we all have to balance that. And there's a lot of men who want to spend more time with their kids as well.
Right.
They want to balance the fact that they want to go to games, right? My dad didn't get to go to my tennis matches because he was always working. Today, people want to try to make a point of it. I think when you act like that, and I was interviewed a long time ago where I said, being a parent breaks your heart open wider, because you care not just about your kids, but other kids, and you become more empathetic, more compassionate. But I do believe that balance is different for everybody, but man, is it critical. And I will make sure that my kids really understand that, because I do think that it all feeds the other parts of your life. If you look at the compartments of your life between as I said, your personal, professional, the different hats that we wear, when you feel invigorated and purposeful in each of them, they all come together.
100%. And I second that, and I feel like a lot of women out there need to like hear that, because
Yeah.
I I mean, like, I have a fiance, and I mean, I'm more than happy if she wants to wear it, great. If she
Yeah.
doesn't, great. I support her either way. But I think that like it's her choice. I feel like people should have that choice, and it shouldn't be this whole like man works, women at home. Like,
Exactly.
women should be able to have that same choice. So
But that's wonderful that you feel that way, because she's then operating from a place of like power, in the sense that if she wants to if she's found a career that she loves or whatever it might be, or maybe she wants to, work from home, that's great. She can do it.
100%.
She can absolutely do it and still be a great parent, and vice versa. Yeah, those days I think are gone. But I think having a choice is important.
I agree. And something that you've mentioned in the past, in past interviews that we've seen, you mentioned the mantra "touch life often." And so, how does that show up for you in your day to day? And then maybe in meetings or in decisions or even in certain setbacks that you might have.
Yeah, I think well, look, communications is the business of knowing people, right? But that's also what human beings are. So when you think about storytelling, everyone tells a story, right? We tell our story in our head, right? Whether we think about it or not. Every day, you're all day long, you're talking to yourself. For us as building brands and very successful ones, what we are doing is crystallizing what they do and telling it stronger and better and more purposeful. We're also looking at, one thing that I love is looking at the why, right? As Simon Sinek always says, like, why does this brand exist? But it's not even just the why. To take it a step further and be able to communicate what that brand or that company or that mission, if it's whether it's a person who we work with, individuals as well as companies, how does that mission need to reach your audience? And that's why sometimes when you hear a song or you read a poem or you read even just a piece of copy on an ad, it touches you. You
100%.
feel it. And that then, I think the touching of life is, I feel that emotion and I want to do something with it. I want to touch somebody else because I feel something moved. And that's how I think, if you can open yourself up to looking at everything as an opportunity and a way to deepen a connection, deepen your work, deepen the message, you're touching people.
And you said something that was key. It was like writing these stories in your head internally.
Yeah.
Have there ever been any moments where you had to like rewrite a story in your head in order to move forward?
Oh, I think that like rewrite and rewrite. Everyone rewrites.
Well, of course.
Yeah. Everybody rewrites.
But more specifically, like a moment where there was a setback and you had to rewrite something in order to grow and move past that.
Yeah. I mean, I became a single mother a few years ago, which was certainly not on the path to the journey that I set out to experience. That was troubling, and a divorce is always really difficult. But again, I think when it comes down to how you can live your best life, there's always going to be these setbacks and challenges. Some are look, like people get sick, people get divorced, all kinds of things happen. I never wanted to let it get who I was at the core. Not to say I didn't have some, sad nights, but I did not want to let that. You live once. It's short. And so you want to be able to feel that you can get up every day and be excited for what the day has ahead. And I still am. Every day is exciting and different.
So I love what you said. First of all, just about being able to rewrite your own story and knowing that you have one life to live, and even the phrase "touch life often." So what I'm curious to know is what allowed you to build that mindset. Were there any early influences or mentors that
It's a good question.
allowed you to, cultivate that, what I would call strong internal relationship with yourself?
No, that's a really good question. I ask people this all the time because I'm fascinated by it, right? It's really a psychological question. Like, what is that makeup in your mind? I'm an only child, was born in the city, grew up in New Jersey in a very small town, very different than Greenwich, Connecticut. We didn't have phones like this. I wasn't comparing myself to other girls on TikTok and all these other things. But I continue to have a very strong female role model, who's my mother, who just kept pushing the boundaries and she started as a teacher, moved up to department head, ran the board of ed, became principal. I always just loved how she dealt with people. That's what I remember, like going to the supermarket with her. I think she'd love to even hear this, and just seeing the way she connected with people in the community. And I have that completely. So I learned that. And I hope my kids still say, "Oh, Mom, you talk to everybody. It's too much." Right. And at the time, I probably said that to my mother too. But that's what life is. Life is your community, whether it's the block the people on your street in New York City, your town, your police station, everybody is your community. The people you work with, that's your life. And so when you think of it like that and you open yourselves up to hearing what they really have to say and what they care about, those connections not just help you as a person and as a friend, but help your community. To me, that's always been a really important
Most
thing.
important thing.
Yeah.
The community, I agree. It's definitely a big belief in my family as well. So I completely get that.
So getting back to what you do today,
Mm-hmm.
as Chief Growth Officer at Sublime,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say defines growth to you?
Just to take a step back, there's an abundance of companies in every sector, right? So, we're very focused in cybersecurity, technology, AI, healthcare, et cetera. We're really agnostic, but we have to move. We have to think on our feet. We have to move nimbly. Technology is overwhelming, but it's also really damn good, right?
Yeah.
And so, what it forces us to do is see the path a little bit clearer and faster, to use the skills we have to say, okay, how is this different than the other products that are in the market? But I think scalability and growth is really about a deeper purpose that will continue to resonate with people, right? I love that part of looking at a company or a brand and saying, how can we deepen the mission, the vision, so that you can connect with your audience and build more and scale more? What I think is amazing today is that companies care about really helping a global economy, right? This is not national versus a different country. We all have to work together. I mean, we have a lot of things going on in the US right now, politically speaking. But I think what's amazing is just the technologists that we work with and the creators that we work with that are really looking to break down barriers. And the fact that we get to help tell their story and then reach their audience, it's pretty damn fun. But growth is really about reaching the people with the right message at the right time and doing it in a way. We like to move fast because time is of the essence. Things are changing so rapidly that you just you got to move.
How do you feel that you're able to lead with both empathy
Mhm.
and decisiveness in a high stakes business environment?
Well, you try being a mother of 3 teenagers, and I bet you'll be able to do that too. And it's true. I do think that being a parent, as I said, it does crack your heart open wider, or just even being in love and being with somebody that you care about, that enables you to just feel to put yourself in someone else's shoes. So the empathy is important, but I think it's also the clarity with which you got to listen to what other people are where they're coming from, right? You can't really argue a point or even negotiate until you really understand the other person's position, because it's just you telling yourself your story, right? So if you don't understand where they're coming from, what's important to this person or this company, it's not really on fair footing. But I do think that empathy is important in the boardroom or the business, being straightforward, right? Being really transparent, but also not backing down. Right? I mean, I'm sure you could ask some people who'd say like Michelle's like kind of goes after it, but I fight for what's right. Right? I'm not fighting for the thing just to fight for it, which people do that.
Right.
That's just not, people see right through it. You fight for what's right, as long as you're understanding where the other person stands, it usually works out.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like you can get your points across better too if you understand both sides.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's like if you think about like a lawyer, right? They understand both sides of the story so that they can argue a case. It's the same thing. But in the end, that's why when you look at, not to get into politics, but people have a point of view. Hopefully it's to be best for what's best for the country, right? Not just I'm sticking to it and that's it. It's really about how do we come together so we can put the best, whether it's the best product, the best marketing campaign, the best foot out there together. And sometimes you have to agree to disagree, and that's okay.
True.
Just then don't make it personal.
I also really liked what you said just about listening. I feel like that's a skill that you need in any single industry, any single job, any single part of life that you're doing. So I think that's a gem, being able to listen, to understand, and not to respond.
And it's harder than people think. I think they're excited. I think it's great that people are excited and they want to talk. That's really exciting. But I think, I don't know, I think even as I get older, I actually want to talk less and listen more, because especially like with, with young people and doing all sorts of things in technology, like I'm learning every day. Right. And that's another thing I think is really important. You got to stay curious. That curiosity is going to really serve well. And I teach that to my kids.
It's great advice.
Yeah.
No, I think it's important. What excites you most about the work you're doing now?
Mm-hmm.
And then how is that different from the earlier chapters of your life?
I would say I love that every day, first off, we get to meet with such amazing companies, a lot of startups, emerging technologies, um, real entrepreneurs who are getting up every day to work really hard at something that they want to build. And then we get to help really light that on fire and set the path to success. So I think that's super fun. I always say it's like every day we get another MBA because we're always learning about different industries. So I think that's a really exciting part. As if compared to the beginning of my career, I would say I was always equally as eager because seeing something that you are a part of as a team and then putting together and how that can make an impact. I don't know what's better than that.
And you
Right.
mentioned that you're always very eager.
Yeah.
And I think that that's key. Going back to like how, for I guess in terms of how people feel when they feel stuck
Mm,
or feel like they've missed their moment, what's
yeah.
something that you would say for them to reclaim that power? I mean, for you, it's eagerness, right?
Yeah.
It's hunger. So
Well,
I'm
I mean, I'm
also
also
curious
a
what
single
other
mother, so I don't like not crying over spilled milk, but it takes one step of action to change your space. That's it, right? If you're feeling stuck, like, okay, everything is going wrong, or I'm in a dead end job that I don't like, my relationship ended, I'm not where I want to be at my stage of life. Okay. It takes one step to change that. Right. And there are some days where I feel so fresh. I'm like, okay, I just got to like, for me, I like to just sit and read. It could be like 2 pages in a, I love stoicism, or it could be, I love just to read novels. It could be that. I love old movies. It could be, or, a walk or something. But you've got to take the one step to feel something different than you feel. And then you're going to see, then it's another step. I think, look, a support system is certainly helpful, but today people are more isolated than ever before, and that's hard. But I see how, like, let's say you walk into a coffee shop to get a cup of coffee and you're feeling down, and someone just smiles at you. It happens at the supermarket. One smile just makes you feel different. The same way that one step toward a different path can be the right. You can't change everything in a day,
Of course.
right? And if you say that you're just gonna you're gonna wake up tomorrow and change everything, you're setting yourself up for a failure. It's just not. But the truth is, it's hard for everybody. You look at this social media and everyone looks perfect and their lives are perfect. They're not. They're struggling just as much, if not more. You don't know what's going on. Kids go to Greenwich High School, like a teen committed suicide, right? Then a teacher died the next week. I mean, this is tough. This is really tough stuff. So you have to just take this one step toward, okay, this is sad. This is how I feel. What can I do about it? Do I need to talk to someone about it? And then how can I move forward and change this kind of negative feeling that I'm in?
A couple of the things that you said, I feel like I just want to reiterate. That one step I think is so important,
Yeah.
especially today,
Agreed.
especially with our generation,
Yeah.
because I mean, there's many times that people, it just feels like a sea of problems that they can't get over.
Yeah.
And so knowing that it only takes one step, just putting your foot forward once, and that may even sound cliche, but it's really the truth.
Yeah.
Like, like once you get out of your head and take action, like things will start moving. Has faith played a big part in your life? And if so, how? And how have you used that,
Yeah.
and how do you use that with your children as well?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. I wouldn't say I'm a religious person, but I totally support anyone who feels comfort and security and togetherness from whatever religion they are, right? I am really, really thrilled to see that people still, worship, whether it's every week or whatever, just on certain holidays. But I think that if it makes people feel not as alone as we're talking about, that's great. Has it helped me or been there for me? I feel like for my faith, it's more of an underlying presence. It's a quiet it's like a quiet presence, but I don't feel that it's not a huge part of my life, but I do believe completely in people like really feeling part of a religion, as long as it's not hurting other people
Definitely.
and shunning other people and making them feel less.
So we've spoken about, I guess now to go back to like a couple questions ago, we spoke about people who maybe have been feeling stuck. But what
Mm.
about somebody who has a really good job or
Mhm.
has a solid gig going for them,
Mhm.
but they're just unhappy and they want to make a change. Like, what kind of edge would you say somebody in that position has, and how can they motivate themselves to take that step that you're
Right.
taking?
It comes down to, again, connections. So that's why it's really good to have a network that of people that you can talk to and go have a coffee with, or just say, hey, and this is something we do a lot, is helping clients or their kids get internships and job opportunities. But you want to talk to them. Why do you think you'd be interested in sports media? Obviously, we know, you like sports, but what else? Do you like X, Y, and Z? So I think before you jump ship, I would do your kind of research, and not just online, but talk to people who do that job. What do they like about it? What don't they like about it? You get a more like a real life experience of it. I think talking to other people is always great. And I think volunteering is great. I think that's a great way to see if you like something. It's a great way to start, to just see how that feels. And then maybe if, you're interested in helping seniors or helping underserved, underprivileged children. I mean, I think all of these organizations are amazing.
Yeah.
You can't do it all, but just try other things without making a huge change before you do that. Because having a secure job is also a good thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Especially today when, I think it's harder to find a good job.
definitely. But I feel like sometimes you can have a good job but at the same time feel like you're unhappy with like what
Right.
you're doing.
Yeah, like
But
it's
then you're
soul
scared.
crushing.
Yeah,
It's
and then
soul
you're
crushing.
scared to leave that
Yeah.
job because it's a good job.
Right.
So
Well, I
it's
think you have, if you're doing well at that job, that you have really developed skills that are so crucial and can be related to anything. So just network, network, network. It's the most important thing. I mean, I'm helping my son who's a freshman in college now, telling him like, this network I've worked 20 years for, giving you these introductions, and he's running with it, and he's so inspired to hear what kind of work they do and how hard it was to build that. It's like, it all looks easy. None of it is easy. None. It doesn't matter what field you're in. None of it's
yeah,
easy,
most definitely not.
but it can be fun,
Yeah,
right?
you just gotta
And
enjoy
that
it. You
isn't.
gotta be happy.
But that's also, it's that balance. Like, my son's he's starting to think, well, do I want to live in New York City after college like you did? Do I want to live somewhere where it's a little bit less hectic, right, and a little more space, a little more green? Like,
Right.
these are good questions to ask that I think my generation, we didn't really think about as much, but it's good to think about these things. Balance is key, and not everybody wants the same things, and that's okay. That's good.
With everything that was said, that was a really great interview. Thank you so much. And we have one final question for you, which is, ultimately, how would you say you step into your flow of abundance? And what does flow of abundance mean to you?
First of all, I love the name of your show. I think it's so great. I think that I feel like just really grateful every day for the little things that make me feel really abundant. I feel like there's so much to be happy about, that I can talk about work and personal and all these other things, whether it's just like having a laugh. Today with my colleagues, we were laughing hysterically, working on a script, which was fun, arguing with one of my twins, so fun. But the flow of abundance is really like sitting back. For example, my son is a musician, as I know you met him or you're connected via text. And sometimes I'll just listen to him sing, and I am in like a state. I don't think about anything else. I think focusing on that, I don't like the multitasking work lifestyle. I don't think that's good. I think the flow of abundance for me is when you can do one thing. It doesn't matter if it's personal or professional, but when you're just focused on the one thing and just giving it all of your attention and all of your insight and love and power, and then seeing what comes from that. That's really the flow of abundance, because then that moves into another moment. Sounds kind of philosophical, but it's really how I
Yeah, I mean,
feel.
you could take it. It's what
Yeah.
it means to you, right?
Yeah,
You
it's
could
what it
take
means
it
to
how
you.
it is,
Yeah.
right? Everybody has their own flow, and I think it's important to. I think that's what people are going to start pulling from this. At the end of every interview, we always ask people like, "What does the flow of abundance mean to
Yeah.
you?" And everybody always has a different answer.
It's great.
And I think it's just
Yeah.
like I think it just goes to show like how different everybody is, but we all go through the same things.
Yeah. And I think also the people defined abundance as wealth. And we all know that wealth is defined in many ways, right?
Exactly.
Definitely.
It's not just the financial wealth. If you just look at like financial wealth, there's emotional health, there's physical health, spiritual health. They don't operate alone, right? That's why I talk about the balance is like, okay, you could be the richest person in the world and be alone. That's not really fun. right?
Yeah,
Or
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 both.
not enjoy the travel or experiences or any of these other things that make you feel really alive or feel connected to someone deeply, right? So it's like all those things kind of have to come together, which is why it really is the balance. We also have to spend the time to find those abundances for ourselves. If you don't focus on it, it won't come.
100%.
And
Most
there
definitely.
are women who say to me, like, I wish I found work that I loved, or I wish that I tapped into that. You gotta maybe kiss some frogs that you don't like to find the frog that you want to kiss. But that's time and that's effort. And that's why you like, okay, you're in this job, you want to change, do a couple of things to see how those other things feel. Might take 20 experiences to say, you know what, I really decide I want to take those skills and become a teacher, right? It's something you never thought about before, but why not? Right. And then you get into that classroom and you're like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's what
Right.
it's what
Right.
makes you happy.
But also doing all those experiences and knowing that it doesn't feel right is also really powerful because you did it. You showed up, you learned something new, and it made you get closer to the thing that you really do want to do.
Yeah, how are you gonna know if you like something or you don't if you don't step out your comfort zone? I
Right.
think that's
And
something
that's why I feel like internships are great, experiences are great, especially for young people, because we have our, like when you ask me, how did I become the way I am? I was exposed to whatever was in my home. The home is it. You get outside, it's a whole nother life, right? And it's up to you to open your eyes and open your heart to those experiences and let it in. Some people it takes a little longer to do that. And I think that's upsetting because we just don't know how long our lives are. So the more you can open up, let those experiences in, and it could not feel good or feel right, but that's how you get to know what does feel right and feel good.
yeah, I think it's a great note to end on.
Great.
Thank you again
Well,
for
thanks
doing
for
this.
having me on the
It's been
show.
it's been awesome. I
Great.
think people are gonna learn a lot from this, and I think your advice is gonna go inspire hundreds and hundreds of people.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Or more.
Yeah, or more. Honestly, yeah, thousands maybe. Yeah, but
Good.
no, we hope so too. But thank you for
Thank
Thank you.
you.